I'm standing at the front of Riverside Memorial Chapel, and my hand is wrapped so tightly around this microphone that my knuckles have gone white. Everyone in this room is staring at me, their faces a mixture of confusion and curiosity. But there's only one face I'm focused on, his. The man I loved more than anything in this world. The man who almost killed me and then walked away without looking back. My heart is pounding so hard I can feel it in my throat, and I know that what I'm about to say will change everything. 3 simple words that I've been holding inside for 3 years. 3 words that will finally set me free. I remember everything, but before I speak them, before I watch his world crumble the way mine did on that rainy October night, let me take you back to the beginning. Let me tell you how a girl who believed in fairy tales learned that some princes are actually wolves in disguise. 3 years ago, I was a completely different person. I was 22, working as a junior marketing coordinator at Bridgewater Digital Solutions in downtown Portland, and I was so naively, stupidly, blindly in love. His name was Marcus Holloway, and God, he was everything I thought I wanted. Tall, with dark hair that fell perfectly across his forehead, a smile that could light up any room, and this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world when he looked at you. We'd been together for 2 years by that point, and everyone called us the perfect couple. My best friend Sarah used to joke that we'd probably have matching golden retrievers and a white picket fence in the suburbs within 5 years. His mother already called me her future daughter-in-law. We'd spent countless Sunday mornings at Maple Street Cafe, splitting their famous blueberry pancakes and talking about our future over endless cups of coffee. He worked in financial consulting at Preston & Associates, and he was good at it, charming clients with the same ease he'd charmed me. Looking back now, I can see all the red flags I ignored. The way he'd check my phone when he thought I wasn't looking. How he'd get quiet and cold whenever I mentioned going out with my friends without him. The small lies about where he'd been or who he'd been with that I'd brush off because I trusted him. I trusted him completely. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was thinking that love could fix the cracks that were already forming in our foundation. By that fall, something had shifted between us. He was distant, always working late, always on his phone, always somewhere else even when he was sitting right next to me. I told myself it was stress from work, that we were just going through a rough patch like every couple does. I didn't know that he'd been seeing someone else for months. I didn't know that the life we were building was already a lie. The night everything changed started like so many others. It was a Thursday in late October, one of those cold, wet Pacific Northwest evenings where the rain comes down in sheets and the world feels gray and heavy. I'd left work early because I wasn't feeling well, just this nagging sense that something was wrong that I couldn't shake. When I got back to our apartment on Riverside Drive, Marcus wasn't home yet, but his laptop was open on the kitchen counter. He never left it open. Never. And I know I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But something in my gut told me I needed to see what was on that screen. What I found shattered everything I thought I knew. Messages. Hundreds of them. To a woman named Jennifer who worked in his office. Messages that went back 6 months. Messages that were intimate and detailed and left absolutely no room for misinterpretation. They'd been sleeping together. They were in love. He'd been planning to leave me but didn't know how. He'd told her things about our relationship, private things, making jokes at my expense, making me sound desperate and clingy and pathetic. I stood there in our kitchen, the one where we'd cooked dinner together just the night before, and I felt my entire world tilt sideways. When Marcus came home an hour later, I was still standing there. The laptop was still open. My face was wet with tears I didn't remember crying. He walked in shaking rain off his jacket, and the moment he saw me, the moment he saw what was on the screen, his expression changed. Not to guilt, not to remorse, to anger, to frustration, like I'd done something wrong by discovering his betrayal. "We need to talk," I said, and my voice sounded strange even to my own ears. He closed the laptop without looking at it. "This isn't what you think," he said, which might be the most insulting thing you can say to someone who's just read 6 months of love messages between you and another woman. We argued. He tried to explain, to minimize, to make it sound like it wasn't serious, like it didn't mean anything. But every word out of his mouth was just another lie, and I could see it so clearly now. How had I missed this? How had I let myself be so blind? "I need to get out of here," I finally said. I grabbed my purse and my phone and headed for the door. He followed me. "Wait, we need to figure this out," he said, but I was already in the hallway, already pressing the elevator button. He kept talking, kept making excuses, and I just needed him to stop. I needed space to breathe, to think, to process what my life had just become. "I'll drive you somewhere," he said. "You're upset. You shouldn't be alone." I should have said no. I should have called Sarah or gotten an Uber or just walked in the rain until my head cleared. But I was so tired suddenly, so completely exhausted, and I just wanted to go. "Fine," I said. "Just drive." We got into his car, a black Honda Accord he'd bought the year before, and pulled out into the rain-slicked streets. Neither of us spoke at first. The only sound was the rhythmic thump of the windshield wipers and the rain hammering against the roof. "Where do you want to go?" he asked, and I didn't have an answer. "Just drive," I said. "I don't care." We headed east on Morrison Street, away from downtown, away from our apartment, away from everything. Then he started talking again, started trying to explain, started making it my fault somehow. "You've been so distant lately," he said. "You're always tired, always working. We never connect anymore." Like that justified anything. Like that made it okay to betray someone who loved you. I couldn't listen to it. I couldn't sit there and let him rewrite our history to make himself the victim. So I told him exactly what I thought of him. I told him he was a liar and a coward and that I deserved better than this. My voice got louder. His got louder. We were both shouting now. All the hurt and anger and betrayal pouring out in that small space. I remember saying I should have known. I should have seen this coming. You've been checked out for months. And he said something back. Something cruel about how maybe if I'd paid more attention to him instead of my career, he wouldn't have needed to find someone else. That's when I really lost it. That's when I told him I knew everything. About Jennifer. About all of it. About how he'd been planning to leave. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. "How long have you known?" he asked, and there was something in his voice that wasn't quite right. "Since tonight," I said. "Since I came home early and saw your laptop." He went quiet for a long moment, and I thought maybe he was finally feeling some guilt, some shame for what he'd done. But when he spoke again, his voice was cold. "So you went through my private messages. You invaded my privacy. Like that was the issue here. Like I was the one who'd done something wrong." We were on Highway 26 now, heading into the West Hills, the road winding and dark and slick with rain. "I want you to take me to Sarah's," I said. "I'll stay with her tonight. We can figure out the rest later." But he didn't turn around. He kept driving, faster now, his jaw set in that stubborn way I knew too well. "Marcus," I said, "turn around. We need to talk about this," he said. "We need to work this out." "There's nothing to work out," I told him. "You cheated on me. For months. It's over." He laughed then, this bitter, angry sound. "You don't get to just decide that," he said. "We've been together 2 years. We have a life together. We have an apartment. We have plans." And I realized in that moment that he'd never intended to leave me. Not really. He wanted to have both, me and Jennifer, the stability and the excitement, the future and the affair. He wanted everything without consequences. "Slow down," I said, because we were going way too fast for these conditions. The rain was coming down harder now, and visibility was terrible. "Marcus, seriously, slow down." But he wasn't listening. He was still talking, still justifying, still making excuses, his voice rising with frustration. I reached for the dashboard to steady myself as we took a curve too fast. "Stop the car," I said. "Let me out. I'll walk. I don't care." But he just kept driving, kept speeding up, and I realized with a cold jolt of fear that he wasn't in control anymore. Not of the car, not of himself, not of anything. The next curve came up fast, too fast, and I saw the guardrail approaching. I screamed his name. He jerked the wheel, the car spun, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I didn't know where I was. There were bright lights above me and voices around me speaking in medical terminology I couldn't quite process. My head felt like it was splitting open. My body ached everywhere. I tried to move and couldn't. Someone leaned over me, a nurse with kind eyes. "You're at Providence Regional Medical Center," she said gently. "You were in a car accident. You're going to be okay. Try not to move." "How long?" I tried to ask, but my throat was so dry the words barely came out. 3 days, she said. "You've been unconscious for 3 days. We weren't sure when you'd wake up. Your family has been here. Your boyfriend, too." At the word boyfriend, something cold settled in my stomach. Marcus, the accident, the rain, the fight. It all came rushing back. "I need water," I managed to whisper, and the nurse helped me take small sips. My head was pounding. There were bandages I could feel on my face, my arms. Everything hurt. The nurse explained that I'd suffered a traumatic brain injury, broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and various cuts and bruises. I was lucky to be alive. The car had hit the guardrail and rolled. Marcus had walked away with minor injuries. Of course he had. Is he here? I asked, and I wasn't sure if I wanted the answer to be yes or no. He's outside in the waiting room, she said, with your parents. Do you want me to get them? Not yet, I said. Just give me a minute. I need a minute. She nodded and left me alone, and I lay there trying to piece together what had happened, trying to remember exactly how we'd crashed. That's when I heard his voice. He was just outside my room talking to someone. His mother, I realized. I couldn't see them, but I could hear every word. How is she? His mother was asking. Still unconscious, he said, and there was something in his tone that made me freeze. The doctors think she might have memory problems when she wakes up. They're calling it post-traumatic amnesia. She might not remember the accident. She might not remember what happened before it. There was a pause, and then his mother said something I couldn't quite catch. Good, Marcus said, and that single word made my blood run cold. If she doesn't remember, it's better this way. Better for both of us. I can finally be free of this. We can both move on. Mom, I know you liked her, but this relationship was already over. This just makes it easier. I don't have to be the bad guy. I don't have to explain anything. I lay there in that hospital bed, listening to the man I'd loved talk about my brain injury like it was a gift, and something inside me crystallized into pure, cold rage. He wanted me to forget. He wanted me to have amnesia so he could walk away clean, without consequences, without having to face what he'd done. And in that moment, I made a decision that would define the next 3 years of my life. I would give him exactly what he wanted. I would pretend to forget. I would watch him relax, watch him move on, watch him rebuild his life on the foundation of his lies. And when the time was right, when he was most vulnerable, when he felt safest, I would take it all away. Not for revenge, not just for revenge, for justice, for truth, for the girl I used to be who deserved better than what he gave her. When the nurse came back in and asked if I was ready to see my visitors, I nodded slowly. My parents came in first, my mother crying, my father looking older than I'd ever seen him. Then Marcus. He stood at the foot of my bed looking appropriately concerned, appropriately worried. Hey, he said softly. How are you feeling? I looked at him for a long moment. This man who'd almost killed me. This man who'd just said he hoped I wouldn't remember. Where am I finally said, making my voice confused and weak. What happened? His face changed. Just slightly, relief flickering across his features. You're in the hospital, he said. We were in a car accident. Do you remember? I let my face scrunch up like I was trying hard to recall. I shook my head. No, I whispered. I don't remember anything. What were we doing? Why were we in the car? He exchanged a glance with my mother, and I saw it. The relief, the freedom, the escape route opening up before him. We were just driving, he said. Just a regular drive. The roads were wet, and another car came out of nowhere. It wasn't anyone's fault, just an accident. Everything after that was a carefully orchestrated performance, and I deserve an Oscar for how well I played my part. The weeks that followed my awakening were some of the strangest of my life, living in this dual reality where everyone thought I'd lost my memory while I carried every painful detail inside me like shards of glass. The doctors at Providence Regional were cautiously optimistic about my recovery, though they warned my parents that post-traumatic amnesia could last weeks or even months, and some memories might never return. Perfect. I played my role flawlessly, asking confused questions about my job, about our apartment, about Marcus himself, watching him relax more with each passing day. He'd visit me in the hospital every afternoon after work, bringing me magazines and those terrible hospital cafeteria cookies, sitting by my bed and filling me in on our relationship like he was reading from a script he'd carefully prepared. We met at a 4th of July barbecue 2 years ago, he'd say. You spilled lemonade on my shirt and we laughed about it. We took a trip to Cannon Beach last summer. You loved watching the sunset at Haystack Rock. All true things. But he edited out the fights, the jealousy, the controlling behavior, the affair. He was rewriting our history in real time, creating a sanitized version where he was the devoted boyfriend, tragically dealing with his girlfriend's memory loss. My mother stayed with me constantly those first 2 weeks, sleeping in the uncomfortable chair beside my bed, helping me with physical therapy, crying when she thought I couldn't see. My father drove up from Eugene every other day, bringing me homemade chicken noodle soup in thermoses and sitting quietly while I pretended to sleep. Sarah came by with gossip from Bridgewater Digital and updates on office drama I supposedly couldn't remember. And through it all, I maintained my performance, asking the same questions repeatedly, mixing up names and dates, appearing frustrated and lost. The neurologist, Dr. Patricia Chen, was kind and patient, explaining that my brain needed time to heal, that forcing memories could actually be counterproductive. Just let things come naturally, she'd say. Don't put pressure on yourself. Meanwhile, Marcus was already distancing himself. I could see it happening day by day. His visits got shorter. His excuses got more frequent. He had a big presentation at Preston & Associates. He needed to check on our apartment. He wasn't feeling well. And I'd nod understandingly, telling him it was okay. He didn't need to spend all his time at the hospital. I knew he had his own life to live. Each time he left, I could see the guilt warring with relief on his face, and the relief was winning. 3 weeks after the accident, Dr. Chen cleared me to go home with instructions for outpatient therapy and follow-up appointments. Home was the apartment Marcus and I had shared, the one on Riverside Drive with the view of the Willamette River, and the kitchen where I'd discovered his betrayal. My mother wanted me to come stay with her in Eugene, but I insisted I needed to try to return to normal life, that being in familiar surroundings might help my memory return. Marcus looked distinctly uncomfortable when I said this, but he couldn't exactly argue against it without seeming like a terrible boyfriend. So we went back to the apartment together, my mother helping me up the stairs while Marcus carried my bags, and I walked into that space seeing it completely differently now. Every corner held a memory I was supposed to have forgotten. The couch where we'd watched countless movies, the bedroom where we'd made love and made promises, the kitchen counter where his laptop had been open that night. I stood in the living room looking around like I was seeing it for the first time, asking Marcus to tell me about how we'd decorated, where we'd bought the furniture, what my favorite spot was. He seemed to relax slightly as the day went on, as I continued to play the confused amnesia patient, and by evening he was almost comfortable again. That night he slept on the couch, saying he didn't want to make me uncomfortable or rush things, and I lay alone in our bed staring at the ceiling and thinking about how thoroughly he'd already checked out of our relationship. The next morning I woke to find him already dressed for work. "I have an early meeting," he said. "Will you be okay here alone?" "My mom's coming by at 10, I told him. "I'll be fine." He kissed my forehead, this chaste, brotherly gesture, and left. The moment the door closed behind him, I dropped the act. I got up and made myself coffee in our Keurig, the one we'd bought together at Target last spring, and I sat at the kitchen table planning my next moves. I needed to rebuild my life, my real life, not the one Marcus was trying to create for me. I needed to get back to work, back to my friends, back to myself, but I also needed to maintain the amnesia story, because I wasn't ready for the truth to come out yet, not even close. Over the next several months, I threw myself into physical therapy at Cascade Rehabilitation Center 3 times a week, working with a therapist named Tom, who pushed me harder than I thought I could handle. My body healed faster than anyone expected. The broken ribs mended. The fractured wrist regained strength. The cuts and bruises faded. But I kept telling everyone that my memory remained stubbornly blank, that I still couldn't remember the accident or the weeks leading up to it. I went back to work part-time at Bridgewater Digital, where my boss Rebecca had been incredibly understanding about my situation. My coworkers treated me gently, carefully, like I might break if they said the wrong thing. And through it all, Marcus was slowly, carefully, extracting himself from my life. He suggested that maybe we should take things slow given my condition, that maybe I needed space to heal without the pressure of a relationship I didn't remember. "That maybe," he said one night over takeout Thai food from our usual place on Hawthorne. "It would be better for both of us if he moved out for a while. Just temporarily," he added quickly. "Just until you're feeling more like yourself." I looked at him across our dining table. This man who'd caused the accident that nearly killed me, who'd been relieved when he thought I had amnesia, who'd been cheating on me for months before that night, and I said, "Okay, if you think that's best." His relief was palpable. He moved out the following weekend, taking his clothes and his books and his Xbox, leaving behind the furniture we'd bought together and a forwarding address for his mail. He was moving in with his friend Derek, he said, just temporarily. I helped him pack, playing the confused ex-girlfriend who didn't quite understand why this was happening, but was trying to be mature about it. After he left, after his car pulled away from our building for the last time, I sat on the floor of our empty bedroom and finally let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. The rage, the grief, the betrayal, the pain. I cried for hours, great heaving sobs that left me exhausted and empty. And then I got up, washed my face, and started planning. The next phase of my life was about transformation. I kept seeing Dr. Chen for my follow-ups, kept going to physical therapy, kept maintaining my story about the amnesia. But privately, I was becoming someone new, someone stronger. I started working out at Iron Mountain Gym, channeling all my anger and pain into the weights, into the treadmill, into building a body that felt powerful and capable. I threw myself into my work at Bridgewater Digital, taking on bigger projects, staying late, proving myself in ways I hadn't before the accident. I started therapy, real therapy with a psychologist named Dr. Lisa Brennan, though I never told her the truth about my memory. I talked about the trauma of the accident, about rebuilding my life, about learning to trust again, but I kept my secret locked away. And slowly, over months and then over a year, I watched Marcus build his new life without me. If you're watching this and you feel the power of truth and patience, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Ring the notification bell so you never miss a story, and comment below with the words "Truth always surfaces." Your support means everything to me and helps me keep sharing these real stories of survival and strength. Thank you for being here with me on this journey. Sarah would send me screenshots sometimes, unable to help herself even though she knew it hurt me. Marcus had started dating someone new about 6 months after our breakup. Her name was Jessica, and she worked in marketing at some tech startup in the Pearl District. She was blonde and pretty, and smiled in all their photos together like she'd won some kind of prize. They went to Timberline Lodge for a ski weekend. They attended his company holiday party together. They posted couple photos at Saturday Market and Powell's Books and all the places he used to take me. And I looked at every single photo, memorizing them, feeling the knife twist deeper each time, using the pain to fuel my transformation. My friends worried about me, Sarah especially. She'd come over with pizza from Sizzle Pie and wine and try to get me to move on, to start dating again, to let go of whatever I was holding on to. "You're doing so well," she'd say. "You're stronger than ever. Your career is taking off. You need to start living again." And I'd smile and nod and tell her I was working on it, that I just needed more time, that the amnesia made everything complicated. But the truth was, I didn't want to move on. Not yet. Not until the moment was right. About 18 months after the accident, I ran into Marcus at New Seasons Market on Division. I was picking up groceries after work, exhausted from a long day of presentations, and there he was in the produce section examining avocados. He looked different, older somehow, tired. When he saw me, his face went through several expressions in quick succession: surprise, guilt, concern, and then this forced casual friendliness. "Hey," he said, "how are you? You look great." "I do feel great," I told him honestly. "I'm back at work full-time now. I got promoted to senior coordinator, actually." "That's amazing," he said, and he seemed to mean it. "I'm really happy for you. How's your memory? Any improvement?" I shook my head, maintaining the lie I'd been living for a year and a half. Still nothing from before the accident. Dr. Chen says it might never come back at this point. Some things are just gone. He nodded slowly, and I could see the relief in his eyes even as he tried to look sympathetic. "That must be hard. I'm sorry." "It's okay," I said. "I've made my peace with it. Sometimes I think maybe it's better this way. Fresh start and all that." We made small talk for a few more minutes. The kind of polite conversation you have with someone who used to mean everything and now means nothing. He mentioned he was doing well at work, that he'd gotten a promotion too. He didn't mention Jessica, but I saw him glance at his watch nervously, like maybe she was waiting for him somewhere. Finally, we said our goodbyes and went our separate ways, and I finished my shopping with a small smile on my face. He thought he was safe. He thought he'd gotten away with everything. That's when I started really paying attention to his social media again, creating burner accounts to follow him and Jessica, watching their relationship progress online. They got engaged that spring, an elaborate proposal at the Japanese garden that he posted photos of with captions about finding his soulmate and being the luckiest man alive. The ring was beautiful. Her smile was radiant. And I sat in my apartment that I no longer shared with anyone, eating Chinese takeout from Golden Palace and studying every detail of their happiness. His father had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer around that same time. Marcus posted about it once, asking for prayers and good thoughts, and then didn't mention it again. But I knew through mutual friends that it was serious, that it was terminal, that the family was preparing for the worst. And I knew with absolute certainty, that when his father died, that would be my moment. Not at the engagement party, not at the wedding they were planning for next year, but at the funeral, when Marcus would stand up to eulogize his father and talk about honor and integrity and family values. That's when I'd speak my truth. His father, Richard Holloway, passed away on a Tuesday in late October, almost exactly 3 years after our accident. I heard about it through Sarah, who heard it through someone else at her gym who knew the family. The funeral was scheduled for that Saturday at Riverside Memorial Chapel, the same place where Richard and his wife Margaret had renewed their vows 10 years earlier. I knew I'd be going even before I received the notification through Facebook events. Marcus had made it public, inviting anyone who knew his father to attend. He probably never imagined I'd show up. Why would I? I barely remembered him according to the story I'd been telling for 3 years. But I was going. I'd been preparing for this moment for so long that when it finally arrived, I felt almost calm. I bought a simple black dress from Nordstrom. I practiced what I'd say over and over in my mirror until the words felt natural. I thought about backing out 100 times. I thought about whether confronting him at his father's funeral was too cruel, too harsh, too unforgivable. And every time I wavered, I remembered his voice outside my hospital room. If she doesn't remember, it's better this way. I can finally be free. Those words had sustained my anger for 3 years, and they'd sustain me through this final act. The morning of the funeral, I woke up early and went for a run along the East Bank Esplanade, watching the sunrise over the Willamette and thinking about everything that had led me to this point. 3 years of pretending. 3 years of watching him live his lie. 3 years of becoming someone stronger and harder and more certain. When I got home, I showered and dressed carefully, putting on my black dress and simple heels, minimal makeup, hair pulled back in a neat bun. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the girl I'd been 3 years ago. That girl had been soft and trusting and naive. This woman looking back at me was none of those things. I drove to Riverside Memorial Chapel with my hand steady on the wheel, and when I walked into that building and saw Marcus standing with Jessica and his family, I felt no doubt whatsoever about what I was about to do. I took a seat in the back, unnoticed at first in the crowd of mourners. I listened to the pastor speak about Richard's life and legacy. I watched Marcus's younger sister give a tearful remembrance. And then Marcus stood up to give the eulogy, and I knew it was time. He walked to the front of the chapel with his shoulders slightly hunched, grief evident in every step, and for just a moment I felt something almost like sympathy. Almost. Then I remembered everything, and the sympathy evaporated like morning fog. Marcus stood at the podium and began speaking about his father, about Richard Holloway's integrity and honesty, about how he'd built his accounting firm Holloway & Partners from nothing, through hard work and treating people right. He talked about family dinners at their house in Lake Oswego where his father would lecture them about doing the right thing even when it was hard, about keeping your word, about being a man of honor. His voice cracked when he mentioned how his father had fought cancer with dignity and grace, never complaining, always thinking of others. The irony was almost too much to bear. Here was Marcus eulogizing a man who valued truth above all else, while he himself had built the last 3 years of his life on a foundation of lies. I watched Jessica reach up from the front pew and squeeze his hand supportively, and I wondered if she had any idea what kind of man she was engaged to. I wondered if he'd told her how we broke up, if he'd mentioned the accident at all, or if he'd just said we drifted apart after my memory loss made our relationship too complicated. Marcus was wrapping up his eulogy, talking about carrying on his father's legacy of integrity, when I stood up. The movement caught people's attention, heads turning to see who was disrupting this solemn moment. I walked down the center aisle slowly, deliberately, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor in the silence between Marcus's words. I could see confusion spreading across faces I recognized, could see his mother Margaret gripping the pew in front of her, could see Jessica's puzzled expression as she tried to place who I was. But it was Marcus's face I was focused on. The moment he recognized me, I saw the color drain from his features. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. I walked all the way to the front, stepped up onto the platform where he stood frozen, and reached for the microphone. He didn't resist when I took it from his hands. "I'm sorry to interrupt," I said, my voice steady and clear through the chapel's sound system. "But there's something I need to say. Something that Richard Holloway deserved to know before he died, and something all of you deserve to know now." I turned to face Marcus fully, watching him realize what was about to happen, watching the panic bloom in his eyes. "I remember everything," I said. The 3 words hung in the air like a thunderclap. I saw Marcus's face go from confused to horrified to desperately calculating in the span of seconds. I saw Jessica sit up straighter, her brow furrowing. I saw Margaret's hand fly to her mouth, and I kept talking, because if I stopped even for a moment, I might lose my nerve. 3 years ago, Marcus and I were in a car accident that left me in a coma for 3 days. When I woke up at Providence Regional Medical Center, the doctors warned that I might have post-traumatic amnesia. And I did experience memory loss, but not the way everyone thought. I could hear the confusion rippling through the crowd, people whispering to each other, trying to understand what I was saying. Marcus tried to speak, tried to say something, but I held up my hand. "Please," I said. "Let me finish." The night of the accident, I'd come home early from work at Bridgewater Digital Solutions and found Marcus's laptop open. What I discovered was that he'd been having an affair for 6 months with a woman from his office. When he came home, we fought. I was devastated, angry, hurt. I asked him to drive me somewhere, anywhere, just to get away. But we kept fighting in the car. He was going too fast on Highway 26 in the rain, and I begged him to slow down. He wouldn't listen. He was too angry, too defensive, too caught up in justifying his betrayal. And then we crashed. I paused, letting this sink in, watching Marcus's face cycle through denial and anger and fear. "But here's what none of you know," I continued. "When I woke up in the hospital, before anyone came into my room, I heard Marcus talking to his mother outside my door. I heard him say that if I had amnesia from the accident, it would be better for everyone, better for him. He said he could finally be free, that he wouldn't have to be the bad guy, that my brain injury was actually convenient because it meant he could walk away without consequences." The chapel was completely silent now except for a few gasps. I saw Jessica's face transform from confused to horrified. I saw Margaret start to cry. I saw Marcus's sister cover her mouth with both hands. "So I made a choice in that moment," I said. "I decided to give him exactly what he wanted. I pretended to have amnesia. I pretended not to remember the affair, the fight, the reason we crashed. I let him believe his secret was safe. And for 3 years, I've watched him rebuild his life on that lie, while I rebuilt mine on the truth I was carrying alone." Marcus finally found his voice. "That's not," he started, but I cut him off. "Not what? Not true? I still have the screenshots from your laptop, Marcus. I saved them before you could delete them. Messages to Jennifer from February through September of that year, making plans, telling her you loved her, complaining about me. I can show them to anyone here who wants to see them." His face went pale. "The affair isn't even the worst part, though," I continued. "The worst part is what happened after. You visited me in the hospital every day for 3 weeks, playing the concerned boyfriend, and the whole time you were just waiting for an opportunity to leave. You moved out 6 weeks after I got home, saying I needed space to heal. You started dating Jessica less than 6 months later. You built this whole new life while letting everyone think I was too damaged from the accident to maintain a relationship. You let people pity me while you moved on guilt-free." I looked at Jessica then, this woman who had no idea what she'd gotten herself into. "Jessica, I'm sorry you're finding out this way, but you deserve to know who you're about to marry. He caused an accident that nearly killed me because he was driving recklessly while we fought about his cheating. Then he was relieved when he thought I had amnesia because it meant he could escape responsibility. What kind of man does that?" The chapel erupted in murmurs and shocked conversations. Marcus tried again to speak, to explain, but nothing he said could undo what I'd just revealed. "This isn't the place for this," he finally managed. "My father's funeral is not the place for your drama. But that's exactly why it is the place," I said. "Because your father was a good man who built his entire life on integrity and honesty. And you stood up here talking about carrying on his legacy while your whole life is built on lies and cowardice. If Richard Holloway were alive to hear what you did, what you've been doing, he'd be ashamed of you." I saw Marcus flinch like I'd slapped him. Margaret was openly sobbing now, and I felt a pang of guilt for causing her pain on top of her grief. But she deserved to know the truth about her son. They all did. "I came here today not for revenge," I said, my voice softer now. "I came because truth matters. Your father understood that. He built his entire career on it. And the truth is that 3 years ago, your son's reckless behavior and refusal to take responsibility for his actions nearly cost me my life. The truth is that he spent 3 years letting everyone believe I was too damaged to remember, when really I remembered everything and he just didn't care enough to face what he'd done. If this story resonates with you and you believe in the power of speaking your truth no matter how long it takes, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell and comment below with the words, "Justice delayed is not justice denied." Thank you for witnessing my truth with me today. Your support gives others the courage to speak theirs. I placed the microphone back on the podium and looked at Marcus one last time. "I forgive you," I said quietly, just to him. "Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve to be free of this." I turned and walked back down that aisle, every eye in the chapel following me, and I pushed through the double doors into the October afternoon. My hands were shaking now that it was over. My heart was racing, but I felt lighter than I had in 3 years. I got into my car, a blue Toyota Camry I'd bought for myself last year with money I'd saved from my promotion, and I just sat there for a long moment, breathing. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. Sarah calling, probably having heard from someone who was at the funeral. Other notifications piling up, but I didn't look at any of them yet. I just drove, heading west toward the coast on Highway 26, the same road where everything had fallen apart 3 years ago. This time I drove carefully, slowly, watching the landscape change from city to forest to finally the vast gray expanse of the Pacific Ocean at Cannon Beach. I parked at the public access near Haystack Rock and walked down to the sand in my funeral dress and heels, not caring that I looked ridiculous. The beach was mostly empty on this October afternoon, just a few people walking dogs in the distance and some kids playing in the tide pools. I stood at the water's edge and let the cold Pacific wind whip through my hair and finally cried. Not from sadness exactly, but from release. From the weight of carrying that secret for so long finally lifting. From knowing that whatever happened next, I'd told my truth and nothing Marcus said or did could take that back. I thought about the girl I'd been 3 years ago, so in love and so blind to the warning signs. I thought about the woman I'd become through pain and patience and careful planning. I thought about whether I'd do anything differently if I could go back, and I honestly didn't know. The revenge had felt necessary at the time, had sustained me through the hardest period of my life, but standing there on the beach with the truth finally spoken, I wondered if maybe I could have found freedom sooner by just walking away. Maybe carrying that secret had given Marcus power over me, even as I thought I was the one in control. My phone buzzed again, and this time I looked. 37 missed calls, text messages filling up my screen, most from Sarah demanding to know what happened and if I was okay, several from numbers I didn't recognize, and one from Jessica. I almost didn't read it, but curiosity won out. "Thank you," it said simply. "I'm sorry for everything you went through. You saved me from making a terrible mistake." I stared at that message for a long time. I hadn't been thinking about saving Jessica when I walked into that chapel. I'd been thinking about my own vindication, my own need to be heard and believed. But maybe there was something redemptive in that after all. Maybe by speaking my truth, I'd helped someone else avoid the pain I'd experienced. I texted back, "You deserve to know who you were marrying. I hope you find someone worthy of you." Then I turned off my phone completely and just stood there watching the waves roll in and out, the eternal rhythm of the ocean that had been here long before my pain and would be here long after. I drove back to Portland as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that seemed almost too beautiful for how I felt inside. When I got home to my apartment on Riverside Drive, the same one Marcus and I had shared, I made myself a grilled cheese sandwich with tomato soup from a can, comfort food that reminded me of childhood and simpler times. I ate slowly, tasting every bite, being present in my body in a way I hadn't been in years. Then I opened my laptop and started writing. Not the story of what happened at the funeral, but the story of the last 3 years. The story of becoming someone new. The story of learning that revenge doesn't actually heal you, but truth might. I wrote for hours, words pouring out that I'd been holding back, and when I finally stopped, my hands aching and my eyes tired, I had something that looked like the beginning of understanding. Over the next few weeks, the fallout from the funeral played out in ways I'd both expected and hadn't. Marcus tried to reach out several times, leaving voicemails that I deleted without listening to. His mother called once to apologize, crying through the whole conversation about how she'd had no idea what her son had done. Jessica called off the engagement publicly and moved back to her hometown of Bend. Marcus apparently took a leave of absence from Preston and Associates, and I heard through the grapevine that several clients had requested new financial consultants. The story spread through our mutual social circles and then beyond, picked up by a local blogger who wrote about accountability and delayed justice. I gave one interview to Willamette Week explaining my side, and then I stopped talking about it publicly. I'd said what I needed to say. The rest was just noise. My job at Bridgewater Digital understood what had happened and supported me through the media attention. Rebecca even gave me an additional week off to process everything. Sarah threw me a party that she called a truth-telling celebration, inviting all our friends to my apartment for pizza and wine and a bonfire of symbolic letting go. I wrote Marcus's name on a piece of paper and watched it burn, and it felt appropriately dramatic and cleansing. But the real healing happened in the quiet moments after all the drama died down. It happened in therapy sessions with Dr. Brennan, where I finally told her the whole truth, and we worked through what carrying that secret had cost me. It happened on morning runs along the East Bank Esplanade, where I pushed my body and felt its strength and resilience. It happened in phone calls with my parents, where we talked about forgiveness and justice, and whether the two could coexist. It happened on a first date with a software engineer named David, who I met through a friend, where I told him my story up front, and he listened without judgment and said, "Everyone deserves to have their truth heard." It happened in small moments of joy that I denied myself for 3 years while I was focused on my plan. The freedom to just live without carrying rage like a stone in my chest was intoxicating. I started painting again, something I'd given up after the accident. I took a pottery class at a studio in Southeast. I said yes to spontaneous plans and late-night conversations, and all the messy, beautiful parts of life I'd been too focused to notice. 6 months after the funeral, I saw Marcus one more time. I was having coffee at Stumptown on Division when he walked in, and for a moment we both froze. He looked different, thinner, older. There was something broken in his expression that hadn't been there before. I expected to feel triumph or satisfaction, but instead I just felt tired. He approached my table hesitantly. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Just for a minute." I gestured to the empty chair across from me and he sat down. "I'm sorry," he said, and his voice cracked on the words. "I'm so sorry for everything. For the affair, for the accident, for letting you think you were crazy when you woke up, for being relieved when I thought you couldn't remember, for being such a coward. I've been in therapy trying to understand how I became someone who could do that to another person. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that you were right about everything, and I'm sorry." I looked at this man who'd once been everything to me and felt nothing but a distant sadness for who we'd both been. "I already forgave you," I said, "at the funeral. I meant it. Not because you deserved it, but because I needed to be free." He nodded, tears streaming down his face now. "I ruined everything," he said. "My engagement, my relationship with my family, my reputation, my career, everything. And I deserved all of it." I didn't say anything for a moment, just watched him cry. Then I said something that surprised even me. "You didn't ruin everything, Marcus. You made terrible choices and you're facing consequences. But you're still alive. You still have time to become better. Your father would have wanted that. Use this. Learn from it. Become the man he thought you could be." He looked up at me with something like hope in his eyes. "How are you so calm about this? How can you sit here and talk to me like this after what I did?" "Because holding on to anger was killing me," I said simply, "and I chose to let it go. That doesn't mean what you did was okay. It means I'm not going to let what you did define the rest of my life." We talked for a few more minutes, and then he left, and I finished my coffee slowly, thinking about second chances and redemption and whether people can really change. I didn't know the answer. Maybe Marcus would do the work and become better. Maybe he wouldn't. But either way, it wasn't my responsibility anymore. My responsibility was to myself, to the life I was building, to the woman I was becoming. I paid for my coffee and walked out into the Portland afternoon. The spring sun warm on my face, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Peace. Not the fake peace of pretending everything was fine, but the real peace that comes from speaking your truth and then letting it go. From understanding that justice and healing aren't always the same thing, but sometimes you need one to achieve the other. From knowing that the best revenge isn't destroying someone else's life, it's building your own into something beautiful and true. I had my memory back, all of it, the good and the bad and the painful. But more importantly, I had myself back, and that was worth more than any revenge could ever be.